Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and I have quite a bit of news to cover in this video in regards to some announcements that we're probably going to hear about from Canon within the next few weeks. May 24th, 2022 is when we are expecting these announcements. Now, we've already known for quite some time that Canon was going to be releasing a Canon R7. We didn't really have any of the specs nailed down, but it does look like we have some specs currently that are going to be accurate specs for the camera. Now, we've also got some confirmation of a new camera called the Canon R10, which we previously didn't really know about. And it looks like this is going to be a lower cost camera that's going to be more in line with the Canon M6 Mark II that was just discontinued, or maybe even the 90D or somewhere in between. On top of these two new camera bodies, they are also going to announce a new RF-S lens line, which is going to be a RF mount lens that is going to be a smaller lens, kind of like when you had the EF-S versus the EF lenses. These lenses were designed specifically for APS-C cameras, which we know both of these bodies are going to be. Now, that's also going to help keep the footprint of both of these cameras down quite a bit, as that seems to be one of the major concerns from the people who were on the EOS M platform who bought those cameras because they were small and compact. Now, as far as the RF-S lenses that we're expected to see, so far we see two different versions we may get. All right, the first of these two lenses is going to be an RF-S 18 to 45, f3.5 to 5.6, which is more than likely going to be the standard kit lens that we see with these bodies. We are also going to see an RF-S 18 to 150 millimeter, f3.5 to 6.3, which is going to give you a more long range option. Now, because these cameras are RF mount, you still have the option to use standard RF lenses. They're just going to be in their cropped mode. So if you have something like a 16 millimeter that you put on to this unit, you're going to get about a 24 millimeter from a 16. And you're going to have to manually do the conversion yourself just to kind of get an idea of how many millimeters the RF lens you're putting on is actually going to be. All right, getting into the EOS R7. These are the specs that we have confirmed so far for that camera. We're looking at a 32.5 APS-C dual pixel CMOS AF sensor, 15 to 30 FPS on the mechanical and electronic shutter. It's going to be running two standard SD card slots. It's not going to have the CF Express, which will make a lot of people happy because the CF Express is still a quite expensive memory card option for many people. You're gonna get 4K up to 60 frames per second, 1080p at 120 so that you can do 1080p slow motion videos at 120 FPS. It's going to have in-body stabilization as well as your C-Log 3 options. It was initially thought that we would hear more about this camera in June or July, but it may end up being on that May 24th date when Canon does their other announcements. Now, unfortunately, we have no word on pricing for the Canon R7. I'm gonna throw my guess out there and say somewhere between $12.99 and about $14.99, as this seems closer to what a 90D is priced when it was brand new, and then give or take a little bit for inflation and current market price for parts. All right, next on the list is going to be the Canon R10. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a ton of information about this camera at the moment. We know that it's gonna be a 24 megapixel sensor. It's going to be APS-C, just like the Canon R7. It's going to have 15 to 23 FPS camera burst using mechanical and electronic shutter. It's only going to have one SD card slot. And as far as we know currently, it's not going to have any C-Log options. It's going to just have your standard HDR, PQ recording options. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, this is probably going to be the closest successor to the M6 Mark II or the EFM product line as a whole, if they decide to scrap that entire product line. Pricing is probably going to be at about $9.99 just for the body only, if I had to make a guess. Unfortunately, we don't really have any information on pricing, but I can't imagine that it would be too much more than $1,000 because they are going to want to price it to an extent that anyone can kind of get into the camera. For all we know, Canon could also throw everyone a bone and price it at about $8.99 to $9.99 with a lens, which would be even better because then you could get just kind of an all-in-one kit to get yourself started for around $1,000. Now, with that said, I'm going to also make a guess that this body may not have a viewfinder built in, but you may have an option for an electronic viewfinder because a lot of the new cameras from Canon, from what we've seen, are going to be coming with that new style hot shoe that was introduced on the Canon R3, which allows you to put more attachments onto it other than a flash and let the camera be able to control those items. Now, I'm personally super excited to hear this information about the Canon R10, specifically because the video I put out a week ago, a lot of people were super bummed out that the M6 Mark II was being discontinued and that the possibility of the EFM product line being discontinued really kind of scared a lot of people who liked their small cameras. Depending on what they do with the Canon R10, this may end up being a viable replacement for that system. I can't imagine that it's going to be as small as the Canon M50 or the M6 Mark II, but if you can get a lot of these same features and it's only a little bit larger, that may be a good middle ground for most of those folks to kind of transfer over into this platform. And then moving forward gives Canon the full ability just to focus more solely on RF glass, whether it be RF-S or standard RF. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about these cameras. Please let me know down in the comments section below. Now, I will be putting out another video after the official announcements for these cameras, because by then we should know a lot more information about both units and about the direction as a whole that Canon is going to be moving on their lower priced entry units. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up as it helps the channel greatly. If you like camera tech related or technology related videos as a whole, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that bell notification. That way you get updates on future content releases. And with that being said, until next time.